sink. I gotta clean it. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I don't have my camera stuff with me today. So I've been sick the last couple days. I've been fighting off some crazy, like a sinus infection or something, whatever my girlfriend brought home. And yesterday I was pretty much couch ridden the whole day, and I was able to come back the other evening and get some work done on the CRX. So that's what we're picking up on this video, is some of that. I'll go out there in a second and show you guys the progress that I made the other day when I didn't film. I just had a small job that afternoon, so I didn't bother sticking around because I didn't have much time to work on the car that day. And yeah, like I said, I've been fighting this stupid thing all week. It's Wednesday right now. I've been dealing with this thing since like Sunday. Just yesterday was the worst of it, like absolutely splitting migraine from 6 a.m. till basically the time I went to bed is when it finally lifted up after taking a bunch of like Sudafed and, you know, Tylenol and hot showers and steam in the face and all that stuff. Just nothing helped. It's just one of those things, sinus infection, whatever it is. Today I don't have a headache, praise God, but I am just physically just drained. So yeah, just me and good old Finn down here just chilling, hanging out for the day. I just got done babysitting my niece. I just picked up some lunch. I'm gonna nibble really quick, try and get some nourishment in me, and we'll show you the car next. All right, so let's get back to it. Pretty much where we left off in the end of the last video is I had just tack welded these 4 supports in from there, and then number 4 being right here. So I went ahead and I laid the final welds on those because I figured I wasn't going to be touching anything else on there anymore. And then the other day when I came in, I had some time to knock out this X bar. Now that I'm pretty stoked on. Like I said in the last video, I was having trouble getting these angles because it being like on 2 different planes, but those ended up coming out pretty good. So that took me basically a day to cut all that stuff out and get those tubes in. Whereas it took me probably, I'd say like 3 hours to get this X done. So you can see here, this is the first initial tube. This was the harder one just because the fit is kind of funky, because I don't know if you can tell, but this tube does not go straight up from the shock tower. It comes inboard, which is fine. Like, that's not an issue. It was just tricky for me to be able to get it to fit accordingly because of the angle that's up there. So it was kind of like, I mean, you can see here how I got the clean cut on each side, and then the length here is going to be the same. Like the point that it comes to is like mirrored on the other side, because that's, I just use a tube notcher on this end, but the other end I had to use the tube notcher, and then I had to like clean up with a flap disc, because basically for me to be able to rest it, like hammer it down to be able to tuck in there to get it to sit kind of like this, I had to shave the top a little bit. So it was just weird. I got to fit just right though. Like, I'm not concerned about it at all. It was just one of those things of like, okay, this is kind of a funky fit. How do I get this to work for me? And then, yeah, this other bar, the 2-piece here, that went perfect. I'm really stoked on that. So yeah, this one was just as easy as, you know, chip, and then weld, chip, weld. So the welds are fully welded up top. It was very, very tight, but I was able to get it. And then as for the A-pillar ones here, you can see it was a little on the uglier side, but I was able to get it. The powder coat, the paint and stuff didn't make it super easy to weld, because there's like contaminants inside and stuff, since this is the pipe he had asked me to reuse. So I did my best, and the welds are definitely solid, but it's just this section here isn't as pretty as I would like. But yeah, so picking up here, what I'm going to try and knock out for today, being that, again, I'm still not feeling very well, is he did want me to add a bar that essentially, I got to relook at the picture, but I'm pretty sure the bar is basically going from the main hoop here to like that leg right there somewhere. Again, I'm gonna check the pictures he sent me, and then we need the driver support bar, which is essentially gonna be going from down there by that shaven portion, or the polish or the clean spot, and bring it up to right around here next to the X bar. So that's, you know, that's in case, Lord forbid, the car ever does go upside down. That tube is supposed to help the cage from crushing in. Obviously triangulating it, and then off of that, I don't have my bender or my bending software with me. I don't have my laptop with me, so I'm just gonna end the day with those 2 bars, because then next up will just be harness bar around the backside there, and then door bars, and then obviously the gussets, but the gussets will be pretty darn easy. It's just gonna take me a while to clean up the chassis portion of it. But yeah, overall, I mean, we're making pretty good progress. So I'd say another 2 full days of work on this thing, and should be able to get it kicked out by the start of next week, today being Wednesday. Knock these 2 bars out, and then yeah, it'll probably take me a day to get the harness bar and then those door bars done. So yeah, I'd say another 2.5 days, because the gussets will probably take me half a day. But yeah, let's get these things knocked out. So I've definitely over the week been picking up some more skill with the hand notching. This was all hand notched except for the corners, because I found you can just do like these, that. That's just 245 notches. I found out. I always wondered how guys got that inside notch, but yeah, it's just a 45 there, 45 there, and then yeah, it just fits perfect. This one was all hand notched and stuff. So yeah, we're doing good. So with me taking on this job, there has been a few comments and concerns in question about some of the stuff on the car. One of the questions on the last video was like the title was kind of me attempting to kind of hint sort of at a clickbaity type thing. You know, I figured it would get more attention being a drag car than saying converting drag to road race cage in the CRX or something like that. But some people were thinking that the cage was going to still be a drag cage, and when I mentioned NASCAR style door bars, they were like, oh, I don't think it's going to pass tech. So I already spoke with that guy in the comments. He was just, you know, commenting before he finished the video type thing. But yeah, so the concerns of that is the spec that the cage has been built to and is being modified to. I've done a little bit of research on it as I have time, but the guy did pretty much all the research because he came to me knowing exactly what he wanted and needed, and that's why if you saw in the last video, he marked with tape everywhere he wanted a tube. So I trust he did his research when he dropped the car. If he explains a bunch of different things, like you got to triangulate it from here to here type thing, it has to be 1.5 inch 120 wall type stuff. So I did it exactly as he has asked up to this point so far. So hopefully that you know addresses any of those concerns. There is also a little bit of chatter that from I guess people just not being happy that I took the job or whatever. Concerns of me beveling pipe or not, which I don't know. Maybe he just didn't watch the video, or maybe he doesn't look at my work. I do bevel my pipe, so I know that is a thing to do with penetration and such. You know, if you're welding just the edge of a tube because you don't bevel it, you're not getting a good connection there as well as you would if you bevel the tube back a little bit to basically the tube thickness that you're going to be welding to, if that makes sense. So I do bevel all my tubes, everything I do, whether it be this job or my bumper bars, all my pipes get beveled. I'm not new to this. I mean, I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I'm not just some dumb kid. And I'm trying my best, and thankfully the owner of the car realizes that, and he's stoked with the work so far. I've shown him the updates, but yeah, I mean, to me, yeah, I've just definitely learned over the last couple of days of trying to showcase some of my pride in my work, that no matter how good you think you're doing, there's always going to be somebody out there to try and drag you down or talk down on you. And you know, I mean, all I got to say to that is, sorry. I'm just doing my thing. I'm going to just keep doing my thing because, I mean, I got nothing else going for me, so what's it going to hurt? This guy obviously trusts me with the safety of the cage. And, you know, any work I do is going to be at least as good as what I pulled out of there, which is not good to say the least. So I'm confident that this is going to be completely fine. But yeah, I don't know. Just tired of butt hurts, I guess. But I'm going to get to work on this stuff. And I just realized it is raining outside, so it's getting really sticky up in here. So I turned the fan off to make this clip because the phone or the AirPod mics are much more sensitive to the fan and such than my normal camera microphone. But yeah, enough of the bad news, butt hurts, dwelling on that crap, because I mean, I just like addressing it. I like bringing it up because I know it makes people uncomfortable. But let's get to work. Sorry for the fan noise. I just want to also address another comment that I had received about whether the cage was getting MIG or TIG welded. So to my understanding, obviously this is not something I do all the time. So for my comfortability and my familiarity with the welding process, I chose a MIG over TIG. Now normally, if it's chromoly, it gets TIG welded for sure because of, you know, certain specs and such that have to be met, whatnot. But this is 1.5 inch 120 wall drawn over mandrel tubing, aka DOM, and you can TIG it, yes. But 95% of the time, from what I've seen personally, it gets MIG welded. And this whole cage, before everything I touched and everything that I cut out, was already MIG welded. So let me just show you that. So there's my MIG welds, and there's theirs. So not saying that I'm necessarily perfect by any means, because nobody is, but I think I'm doing a little bit better on that. Now, I don't know what their heat and penetration is looking like, but I know mine is definitely solid. But yeah. So hopefully that addresses some concern, because the MIG weld is going to be more than adequate. I mean, 90% of the time, if you buy like an auto power roll bar, it's all MIG welded. Granted, this is a cage, not just a roll bar, but you get the point. Like, it just doesn't call for it, and it wasn't requested. If it was requested, I probably would have turned the job down, because I don't think I could have got good enough fitment on every single joint to TIG weld it. I don't have that level of skill yet, and I accept that. All right, so just text the guy and just got confirmation on where we're putting this tube. So, because I was a little confused by his photo. So we're going from the lower portion of this driver's side main hoop, so roughly this area, and now we're going to the shock tower plate that's right there. At first I thought in the photo he was wanting to go to that tube or that tube, because you know the tape was just kind of hanging somewhere over there, but just text him, he confirmed preferred to the plate, if not to the tube there. But I should be able to get to that tube just fine, or that plate just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead, grab my wire wheel, clean up the plate, clean up this tube some more, and then we can get a general measurement really quick. Kinda, probably gonna have to put you guys down, but yeah, I'm gonna guess it's gonna be like 3.5 foot. I was wrong. It's basically 4 foot on the dot from center of that plate to outside edge of this tube, so it gives me a little bit of room for cutoff. So we'll do what, that's 48 inches, so we'll do 49 inches, so we have a little bit of slack, because we're gonna have to angle that tube over there. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna grab my angle finder, I'm gonna measure the general angle that it is from there to face us in this direction. So I'm working on getting this tube trimmed up at the moment, just using my clamp, you know, to rest it, because I need this part lower. Well, in that general location, I can raise the height of it just a little bit, or lower it, I'm sorry, because I need the door bars to be able to, you know, come in this general area. So I wanted to make sure this was out of the way and still doing its job. So I just trimmed it to that side. So pretty darn good fit in there. I just got to bevel the tube a little bit, maybe shave off just a tiny bit with the flap on the inside here, because the shock tower is not perfectly level, so there's no way to get that perfect and true, but I'm just holding it up kind of right there. So now I'm gonna go ahead and mark my pipe right here, and yeah, just, you know, kind of go about my normal notching thing. But yeah, this one's almost done. So I tried getting the pony clamps to hold the tube at that end, so this gap is obviously more gap than it's supposed to be because it's not sitting at the right spot. But let me show you, that's right there, that's what a bevel is. So that's what I was talking about before. So that way when it's butted up against it, try and get it up there, or maybe friggin' whatever, but you guys get the idea. So you're basically sanding the edge back roughly the tube thickness, and that's going to give you a really good surface to mate to with your welds. That way you're evenly filling it per se. That's probably like the easiest, best way I can explain it. But so this piece is all cut up and notched, ready to tack weld in, so I'm going to roll the welder over and do just that. All right, so currently working on getting this driver support bar done, the one that goes behind the driver or above the driver. Got that one notched by hand. This one I was able to do with the tubing notcher, thankfully. Just measured it. It was about 42 degrees of an angle. I know he didn't want it too close to here because, you know, this tube had to be here type thing, so I don't even know. But looking back at the pictures, this is basically where he had left the tape. So according to his remarks, we should be good. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna mark the tubes up where I can, you know, get the paint off, and then we'll go ahead and, you know, tack / weld these things in. So I was able to play with the fitment a little bit. I was able to trim the top, I guess, back corner of that notch for this driver support tube, and I was able to suck that up a little bit more that way, like more vertical, so it pulled that in about 1/2 inch towards this way, but I was able to put this side down a little bit, so that fits a little bit more comfortably to the floor in terms of diagonal-ness, I guess. So I'm pretty stoked on that. So I got it tacked in place now, looking pretty good. So I'm gonna send the guy a picture, make sure that is appropriate, and then we'll finish welding that, and then probably wrap it up for the day from there. So just got off the phone with him. So guy had me compare, because he has another CRX, it's all cage and everything for the spec that this one's going for, I suppose. So that's where he got all of his initial measurements from. So yeah, this one, good thing I just tacked it in place, because he needs it to come over just a little bit. I was trying to be more hypercritical of it going towards the driver's side, but I guess it needs to be more towards the middle. So measuring it, that side is perfectly fine where it is, somewhere in that range there, but he needs this side shortened up to where it's basically 36.5 inches from center point to center point on the halo. It needs to be roughly 5 to 6 inches driver's side facing of the middle point, which is roughly 18 inches. So that line should be pretty much where I need the middle point here. So I need to shorten it up that much. Went ahead and I double checked my measurements. I was a little bit off, so I corrected on the top for, you know, the length. Marked my tube up on the B pillar, and then used my angle finder again. It came up to about 49.4 degrees So I set my tubing notcher up to about 49 degrees, and now we're gonna notch this, and then this should fit just minty. I goofed again. I told you in the last video, I showed you my mess up. I'm gonna show you again and repeat myself that I am far from perfect. So what I did is I measured with my digital angle finder that the tube was sitting at 49 degrees. But I realized now that there's two different planes to measure off of, and I forgot this was an issue last time when I built my roll bar and I was dealing with going from one of my legs or whatever. So the issue I had is I'm measuring off of the plane that's coming off of that. So the bar that it's connecting to going across is on a different plane. So basically I measured it slightly wrong. So now I've taken my protractor here and I've measured it to about 49 degrees. I'll correct that here off camera. And now going off of here, instead of setting the notcher to 49 degrees, I need to set it to basically 41 degrees, because 41 and 49 would be 90. So 40 obviously is 80, 9 and 1 being 90. That's what would make that joint that I need. I can't do it with my hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and notch it, and that should be now the correct angle, because thankfully I did have extra slop on the tube that I was able to work with. So now my new throat line is that line, and I should be able to notch through that at 49 degrees. Well, 41 degrees. So sure enough, when you look top down, that's heading right where we need it to go. So the end of that tube is gonna, or the end of the notcher is gonna run straight through there. So I'm pretty confident this is gonna be the right cut. All right, sure enough, that was it. So we got a pretty good fit up there. Still gotta clean it up and stuff. And then we got a good fit up down here. So that's the money winner. And you can see that we're right in the middle of that mark that I made. So that's perfect of what I was going for. Whatever I'm sick with is kicking my butt, dude. I am just not in it today. Like the other day, I was basically incapacitated with the migraine I had and such. Yesterday when I was down here doing that stuff wasn't too bad. But today I'm just so drained. Like, I don't have an ounce of energy. So I'm just gonna try and do what I can do. The guy's not in a hurry, but obviously, you know, time is money for me. I don't have time to be sick, so I gotta get stuff done. Let's jump into it. Alright, so I know it's kind of hard for you guys to see because the tubes are in the way, but basically what we're doing is we're just measuring across for this one. So the bend program is pretty simple. It's just asking for the length back as well as the length across. Now the guy did say he wanted this thing, try and peek my head up here. So the guy did say he wanted this thing basically 7 inches back, so give or take half an inch or so. So we're gonna start with like 7 1/4, because usually when you're overlapping with your notches, you're sitting at about 1/3 tube diameter. So we're gonna do, I'm sorry, half an inch, so 7.5 inches. So in that case, we already know that it's gonna come back, you know, 7.5 inches. Now the across, I'm gonna go pretty much from right underneath these, from right above the bends up here. So going across outside edge to outside edge, we're looking at 49 inches roughly. So we can work with that, because worst case scenario being that this is just a simple U-turn bend, we can get some ratchet straps, or we can get a ratchet strap and we can hug it in a little bit just like you would with the main hoop. But yeah, so just measuring back 7 inches, yeah, that puts us, we got plenty of space. Yeah, so let's go put the dimensions into the program, just double check measurement again, right above the bend, try and make sure it's level. So yeah, we'll go 49 inches outside edge to outside edge. So here I've got bend tech loaded up already. So all I did was pull up a basic 2-dimensional U-shape template. So I did my dimensions of 7.5 on the length. So this one I'm going to choose outside edge to outside edge, so that's going to change it just a little bit here. So this is what we're looking like now. 49 inches across, outside edge to outside edge, 7.5 inches deep. And mind you, it is already set up for my material, which is 1.5 inch 120 wall, and my tube die, or my die, which is 1.5 inch with a 4.5 inch centerline radius. So this is basically what the part's going to look like. Super simple. Again, this is just 2-dimensional. And right here it gives us our cut length, 56 and 11/16 of an inch, and then it gives us our bend locations and our bend angles. So our first bend location is going to be at 1 inch 5/8. The other one is going to be at 46 and 15/16 of an inch, and they're both going to be at 90 degrees. All right, so something that I forgot to do on camera was, after I showed you guys that I made the bend file, I put it in the bender, totally forgot that I have to account for material before and after the bend, because I'm going to put it in the bender, went to clamp it down, and realized I'm a couple inches short of being able to clamp it down. So in this case, I just threw in 4 inches at the start and at the end of the stick, so that way I could account for that. So made the changes in the program. It updated, you know, my bend locations, because that way I was able to have enough material to clamp the first bend in position and then enough material to pull the second bend through, because I was afraid of running out of material to complete the 90. So after it's, as you can see, all bent up, still have to notch it, obviously, but going for right where I wanted, which is basically directly above the bend, we are looking dead nut center. So we're looking good there. So basically the way I was seeing it in the photos that the guy sent me is, I don't know how well you guys can see it without me zooming in, you guys are kind of over there, but you see this line here. So here's the window area. This is like the bottom of the window line. In the photos, it appears as if his tape line is roughly level with that. So that's where I took my measurements for this tube. And then I did, you know, already trim this section. So now from backside of tube to, from backside here to here is 7 inches, just like he wanted. Well, it's a hair more, but I accounted for the notch. So yeah, I'm going to double check the pictures really quick and we should be good. And then yeah, I can go ahead, grind the paint off this thing, get it cleaned up and ready to tack into place. So after checking the pictures and studying them a little bit from multiple angles, he sent me a whole portfolio of them. Yeah, it definitely looks like he's more in the high part of the bend, which is where I have it, because it's looking like the top of the tape line is basically just under the window line. So that's pretty much perfect. So I think we are solid to go. So I'm going to go ahead, mark this up, get it notched. I don't think I can fit this in my tube notcher as is, so I'm going to have to notch these ones by hand, but let's get it done. So the harness bar is looking pretty darn solid in there. I got it all tacked into place now. I'm just going to leave it tacked in just because I'm going to wait for the guy to read my texts, just to verify everything's looking good. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're getting it. Basically dead nuts level right there. You can see with the window seam, and it's literally almost perfectly level. I got it within 0.3 degrees of being dead nut center, and I think part of that was my weight sitting inside the car, you know, putting one side lower than the other, because yeah, eyeballing it, it's totally center. But yeah, so we're looking good here. Yeah, just again waiting for him to text me back, let me know that that's okay, and then I can go ahead and lay the final weld. So I text one of my other buddies that does this type of work, and he was concerned about this support bar because he does more drift style cages, and on those this needs to be more over there, and that was my initial concern because that was my idea behind all this too. And again, like I mentioned in the video yesterday, or in the clips from yesterday, I FaceTimed the dude and he was like, yep, go off of this because this is how the other CRX is, 5 inches to the right of center of the main hoop, not center of that bend over there. And yeah, that's where the guy wanted it, so that's where we're putting it. I trust he knows his stuff since he has another car that's already got all this. So in this case, again, now that is good to go, I'm going to pretty much start cutting the doors up. So I got the driver door cut. I'm definitely wanting to do this one door at a time. So oh, and in reference to, I don't know if I mentioned in the last clip, if I did, then whatever, but driver bar looks good. He confirmed it. So he did just mention he forgot to tape it, but he wants me to add a bar. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't even see it from this side. So he wants me to add a bar that goes from the diagonal support here to the harness bar here. So that's no problem. Just a straight little bar. That'll be easy. I'll just mark that in my notes, do that before I send the car home, obviously. So anyway, back to the door bar. Got the door cut. This is as high as I really can go. He said I can go a little bit higher. So his main thing, he doesn't really care so much about the lock, I believe, as much as he cares about using the inside door handle. So if it comes to the locking mechanism, I can cut up to that point, which I'll probably have to do because I'm gonna have to try and at least cut out the majority of this factory crash bar in there. I don't know how I'm gonna cut through that, but I'm gonna have to try and figure it out, because I went ahead and took some measurements and got this piece bent up. So this was gonna be the bottom portion of the door bar, but you see it looks pretty good. Thankfully this one I was able to notch inside of the tubing notcher because the legs were just long enough. So let me throw you on the tripod really quick, but I'll just explain because my body is going to be in the way, so you won't be able to see it too well. But basically, I wanted this one to be the lower door portion, but the issue is I goofed slightly, so I notched it just a hair too much on that leg. So now it doesn't fit as tight as I would like it. There's a gap, too big of a gap that I'd like to fill if I do it down, but because the cage bows outward coming up, I can slide it up and make this one the upper portion of the door bar, and then I can just remake that, because the other issue is that one is 49 degrees, that one is 45 degrees, so that one I need to bend to like 47 to have a more perfect fit for my liking over there. So that's okay anyway, because now I'll just take those same measurements, recreate that, and bend the second bend just a little bit less. So for now, I'm going to figure out how to get that door bar kind of trimmed up out of there, and then I can go ahead, clean up the hoop and the A-pillar bar, and then I can tack this bad boy into place. So I'm very stoked on that. I spent like a good 30 minutes just measuring it, brought my laptop out here, and I was going, trying to figure it out. So yeah, we're making good progress here now. So now that I got this first tube out of the way per se, I'm feeling quite a bit more comfortable with these door bars. I got a little bit ahead of myself on that one. So I looked at some more pictures, and I sent him a picture, and he asked, I had it mistaken. I thought he wanted to keep the inside stuff. He wants the factory latch. He doesn't care if we have to move this or cut it out. So I was looking at more pictures, and it looks like most people are putting the top bar level with the door striker, whereas I have it about 3 to 4 inches lower. It's kind of hard to measure. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out more of... don't zoom in, I'm ugly right now. I'm going to go ahead and cut out... I'm going to take off this rod, probably just... take off this rod and probably cut it up right under this line here. Because I just need to get access to be able to cut more of the door bar out, because I have clearance ideally here because the tube slightly angles downward. So yeah, that's kind of where I am now. I gotta trim out more of this skeleton door card stuff. So well, that's looking a lot better, don't you think? So got it right up to the dash bar where he wanted it on that side, and I got it up to the door latch on that side. So it's still just barely touching the door on the left side, kind of opens up a tiny gap, maybe a 1/4 inch up to that point before it bends. So again, if there's any sort of vibration, which there really shouldn't be, like it's so tight against the door, you gotta kind of slam the door shut, and that's what's holding the bar in place right now actually, is just a little bit of tension. But yeah, so it's ready to clean up the pipes and start welding. So I'm stoked on that. The reason I cut the door the funky shape is I wanted to make sure I had some, structure for the door latch to hold on to, because those, I just unbolted it so I didn't cut it. So I'm probably going to end up just putting a new cutoff wheel on and just cutting it straight across so it's level, and then, yeah, I'll just leave it there. But where it sits right now, I don't know if the cable needs any sort of tension on it. So if it does, you can use a little zip tie thingy, you drill a hole, use a zip tie. But I'll bolt it together really quick and see if it does. But forget about that. Anyway, pipe looks sick. Alright, I just finished the welds on the harness bar, and the door bar is tacked in place now. So we're in pretty good shape here. Wha-bam. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be squeaking on them. So it's like, I wish I could freaking measure it, but yeah, it's barely touching. It's touching enough to basically just put tension. Like I can't just gently shut it like that. I kind of got to give it a little beans, but I'm going to wrap this video up here. Yeah, I'm exhausted. This thing's whooping my butt. I'm having a good time. I'm really enjoying learning and getting this much experience doing roll cage stuff. This is definitely a learning experience for sure. But yeah, I hate to cut you guys off in the middle of this, but we're doing day-to-day stuff right now. So I'm gonna just end the video off here. We will pick this up in the next video tomorrow, being Friday. I do have a couple small exhaust jobs coming down, so I probably won't film those, and I don't think I'm gonna have time tomorrow to get to this thing, but we shall see. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out with me on the video. Thanks for some of your questions and concerns, tips and tricks, and the comments and stuff. And hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you want to help support the channel, by all means, hit up the Big Cartel, order some merch. I will be releasing the SD Fab shirts soon. I almost got a tongue twister on that one. But yeah, I'm going to freaking call it a night. I'm going to go home, shower my sweaty ass, and take my tired ass to bed. Anyways, guys, do what you love. Forget about the rest. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.